we'll go ahead and get started, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar on Aqua Data Studio on how to improve your SQL queries. My name is Darren Fulmer. I'm a sales engineer with IDERA, primarily on the Aqua Data Studio product line. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So Aqua Data Studio, as most of you probably know, is a software designed for IT professionals. It is there to help you manage your databases. It gives you the ability to access your databases, run queries, import, export data, visually analyze that data. It's a single source tool that allows you to function within a hybrid environment. Aqua Data Studio supports over 40 different databases, including relational, NoSQL, and cloud databases. So you can use that single tool against all those environments, and it really shortens the learning curve. Aqua Data Studio can also be installed on Windows, Mac, and Linux operating systems. And it's a mature product. It's been in the marketplace for 20+ years now. So just a real quick overview of the product, and then we'll jump into the SQL features that we're going to touch on today. But Aqua Data Studio allows you to register those servers and databases, including Excel is one of the ones that is of the 40 listed. It gives you database navigation through right-click menus. It has the query analyzer or SQL editor, and we're going to be touching on that component today. Also has a query builder. We're going to also touch on that as well. One of the other features in Aqua Data Studio is the visual analytics component. For those that have to share their data with an organization in chart formats and stuff, it's a great drag and drop, easy to use tool. ER modeler for blueprinting any databases that you have, or for building out a new database and running that SQL. Multiple tools in the product as well for importing and exporting data, comparing schemas, generating test data. That does require the ultimate license key, but it is still a feature within the product. If anyone does not have a lot of familiarity with some of those components I just mentioned, I highly recommend one of our Getting Started webinars. We go through and touch on each of those pieces of the product, so that I give you a quick overview of what is capable in the tool. I know that a lot of times people get a tool, they start using it, and then they are pigeonholed essentially in just that one piece that they initially got it for, and not realize all the other features in the tool that can really help cut down their workload throughout the day. So highly recommend attending one of those sessions if you want to learn more about all the different features within the tool. Okay, so today we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into the query analyzer or the SQL editor, so that we can show you how to utilize that feature of the tool. Some of the result sets that you can get back to help you with your SQL queries. We'll show you the query builder, so that you can see how you can drag and drop your tables and data into the query builder. That will allow you to modify the code. If you're not familiar with writing code, Query Builder is a great tool to help speed that up if you're doing complex stuff, and we'll touch on all that. We'll touch on the debugging functionality within Aqua Data Studio, show you about setting breakpoints, stepping through, executing your stored procedures. Also accessing the history of your SQL queries, so that you can re-execute those, edit them, and even use it for audit trails. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the actual product and start running through some of these areas that we mentioned. So this is Aqua Data Studio. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the new dark theme that came out in 22.2. That's currently what I'm using. It's just so much easier on the eyes for me when I'm in the tool all day long. For those of you that are writing SQL, you're probably in it a lot more than I am. And if eye strain is an issue, I highly recommend utilizing dark theme. It just helps so much more. So this is the basic setup of how I have Aqua Data Studio set up. One of the beauty things about the tool is it's very customizable. The primary workspace here in the center, that is your SQL editor. I have my database servers listed on the left. I have my saved files listed on the right. That's just how I have mine set up. All this is customizable. If you just come up here, click on the wheel, you can move your different panels, top, bottom, right. You can split them, unpin them. There's so many things that you can do within the tool for that functionality. So quick thing, just if you open up one of your databases, and let's just say we're going to go ahead and let's see here. We'll just go ahead and just right click here on this database. We're going to go ahead and open up Query Analyzer. I highly recommend you utilize the right click menus as often as you can, simply because when you launch your window, you have your information already set up in the window itself rather than you having to do it yourself. So one of the nice features that can help you with your SQL in the Query Analyzer is the IntelliSense pop-up feature. So if you just start doing a quick select star from and pause, if you notice that the IntelliSense pop-up window pops up with all the available tables for you to select, so that you don't have to continue typing. You can just double click on that. It'll populate it, fill it in for you. And then what you can do is you can come up here and utilize one of the arrows to execute current, execute. So we'll run that execution. So one of the things that I also like to just mention on is, if you notice, when my SQL editor has a color-coded tabs and a colored frame, and I set that up in the server properties when I create my connection, just so that I can visually see what I'm working on. Just for more examples of the SQL capability, you can, this is Excel. If you work a lot in Excel, you can also execute here. Get your result sets below. This is Snowflake, which is a cloud database. So you can see I'm operating in multiple environments. I am running on SQL Server, Snowflake in the cloud, Excel. So just to show quickly some of the capability of that broad connection ability within the hybrid environment. Okay, so one of the other things that you can do in the SQL editor is you can put in multiple queries, and you can highlight just a single query if you'd like, and you can come up here, rather than execute all, you can just click execute current. And if we execute, so let's see here, close this. Apologize. It looks like I lost connection to my VPN. All right. Should be able to connect now. Okay, so as I was saying, this is your SQL editor with multiple queries in it. If you want to just execute a single query, just come up here and let me close this out again. I apologize. Reconnect to that server. Relaunch it. Now, one of the nice things is if you notice, I'm going over to my file system on the right-hand side. I'm launching that SQL window exactly where I left off. So you're able to save your SQL queries if you're working on it and you have to change gears, go to something else. You can save it into your file system. You can double click on it, come back, and you can start right where you left off. Okay, so let's just highlight this first query, execute it, and there we go. So we get our result sets from that single query execution. You can execute all the queries if you'd like. If you just go to the bottom, and then this time you just use the execute all, and then you get your data result sets back. Now, you notice there's 3 tabs here, one for each of the queries. So if you have multiple queries and you want to just kind of look at the different data sets or whatever in your return, you can do that in your SQL editor. If you notice here, this last query is actually pulling from a separate database table. So you can cross databases in your server. This will once you have all of your data results returned, you can then start manipulating that data if you'd like. So for example, just come here. So here, if you need to go ahead and sort your data, you can just click on, let's say, country, alphabetical. If you want to just highlight a portion of your data, you can do that when you're dealing with your SQL queries. You can highlight it, copy it. You can also export into Excel. You can even export your data that returns back into the visual analytics component of the tool. That's something we're not going to get into today, but it is a great feature in the tool to be able to go ahead and take that data information, dump it into a visual analytics chart, and share it with your organization. All right, so another thing is, you notice here I have my grid, I have messaging, but there are other features within the SQL editor that you can turn on to help you better understand what's happening with your SQL. So if you come up here to the query menu, and if you come down to the bottom portion here, all of these items here are things that you can turn on when you're executing your query, so you can go to that tab and see what information is available. So for example, you want to see an execution plan for your SQL. Just come down, just check mark the box. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and execute our SQL again. And then you notice now we have, instead of just grid and messages, we have an execution plan that we can click on. We can take a look, and that way it can help you to better understand how long that query is running, what are the the costs of it, so that you can go ahead and make any kind of modifications you need to your SQL so that you can optimize it. All right. Again, as I mentioned, you can come up to here, you can right click on it, you can make some changes to the tab. If you want, you can come over and you can, here in the menu items, you can save this query. Again, that's so that it is then listed in your file system so that you can come back to it and continue working on it. If for some reason you're noticing that your queries are returning slowly, you can come down here, the garbage collector. You can click on the garbage collector. You can actually see how the memory is working. You can run the garbage collector, clear it out, and speed things up. Just a helpful little trick. Yeah. All right, so with the SQL editor, you're writing the code for you. One of the great things about Aqua Data Studio is the ability for you to let Aqua Data Studio write the code for you. Again, if you come over to your right-click menu and right-click here, if you come down here to Query Builder and launch Query Builder, that'll open up with the connection settings that you're working with here. The Query Builder is a free-floating window, so it will open up and give you a free-floating window here. Let me go ahead and clear this out so I can demonstrate. So once you make your connection to Query Builder, you can then start dragging and dropping your tables, views, whatever you have in that structure into your work field. The great thing about the Query Builder is, one, if you're trying to write very complex code, most of you who are SQL gurus, there's a lot in the syntaxing. Sometimes we forget things and make a mistake. But the nice thing is Aqua Data Studio will allow you to just drag and drop those components into the field. It will write the SQL query for you. If you're not real familiar with writing SQL, again, the Query Builder is a great tool for you. For a lot of times, business analysts or data analysts, they're not really SQL focused. They're more geared towards creating the charts, creating information to share with the organization. This is also a great tool for them because they can just drag and drop that stuff in. They don't have to worry about writing the SQL code. So let me go ahead and demonstrate. So let's go ahead and just grab the employee table. We'll drag it over to our workspace and drop it in. As you notice down here in the bottom portion, it's already starting to write the SQL code for us. So let's go ahead and drag another table over, drop it in. It's continuing to create that SQL code. And then we notice that both of these tables have car numbers. So if you want, you can actually click on one, drag it to the other, create a join. If you notice down here, it's added that join to the SQL code. And again, as I mentioned, if you're building a very complex SQL, this drag and drop capability just speeds up that entire process for you. Let Aqua Data Studio do the coding work for you so that you can spend your time on other things. And now, as it has built the SQL code for us, we can do a couple of things with this if we want. Once you have it built out, if again you want to share that with team members, all you have to do is highlight it, copy that code out, share that code. You can provide it with other members of the organization, or you can actually just save the Query Builder if they have Aqua Data Studio and just share that Query Builder file with them. You can also execute the query from here. So if you come up here to the green arrow, just like in the SQL editor, we just go ahead and execute. Let me double check to make sure I didn't lose VPN connection again. Nope. All right, well, you can execute that. You can get your grid results when the query executes. And again, here we can do a number of different things. You can export it out. You can drop it into Visual Analytics again. With the SQL, one of the things you can also do is if you want to clean up the SQL a little bit, change the way it's formatted, you can easily do that by coming up here to the Query menu item. If we hit Query, Format SQL, this will bring up, it's called Beautify Options. So you can make adjustments here so that as it's building the code for you, it will meet your requirements on the way you like to have it set up. Okay, so again, Query Builder is great for allowing Aqua Data Studio write the code for you, even if you're very familiar. Sometimes, as I mentioned, when we're doing a lot of lines of code, it's very easy to get some syntax incorrect, miss something, and it can eat up a lot of time trying to find that mistake. Dragging and dropping and letting Aqua Data Studio do it for you, the syntaxing will be taken care of. All right. So we'll go ahead and move on to the debugger. So the debugger is available for Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, and Sybase. And the way you access the debugger is you would come in, find yourself a stored procedure or a package, and just come down. You would right click on it, and then you would go ahead and come here and hit debug in procedure debugger. So when we click that, it will open up a debug window in your SQL editor. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is demonstrate how to set up some of your breakpoints, toggle through those. So for example, breakpoints is very simple to set up. So all you have to do is left click and it will hit the breakpoint. Left click again, set up another breakpoint. And once you have multiple breakpoints set up, you can this, if you need to remove the breakpoints, you can do that as well. Pause this. So let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so here you can see once you've opened up your debugger, it will be listed here in your debugging window. So you can set your breakpoints, and then you can also you can toggle them on and off. Again, you can use a right-click capability, or you can come up and utilize the breakpoint icon to set those. Now, once you have your breakpoint set, you have different options of, you can run the cursor, you can go to current line if you'd like. So when you execute, you would come up here to the green arrow and you would go ahead and execute your debug session. You will get your pop-up window here with some additional information within, just outlining if you're going to be adding any parameters. And then you can also, if you want, you can utilize the yellow arrow, the step over. So you can step into, step over, or step out of your procedure so that you can walk through the process, and you can see if there's any components of that package or procedure that need to be focused on. So you can go back into the code and then optimize it to better run within your environment. And then once you've executed it, you will also receive your information down here, just like you normally would in the SQL editor. You have your grid information, you have your messaging here, shows your breakpoints again. So very useful tool. Again, like I said, the debugger is only available in this. Okay, so it's only available in Sybase, Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server, I mean, not MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, and DB2. You can actually go into the resource center at aquaclusters.com. If you come in here and just type in debugger, it will bring you to this page, which gives you all the information. If you want to know more about a particular, the debugger features for, let's say, Oracle, you can just click on that. It will bring you to the Oracle information page, give you a lot of information on utilizing the debugger within the tool itself. You have screenshots to walk you through the process. Again, Sybase, Oracle, SQL Server, and DB2. Again, even though Microsoft or Aqua Data Studio supports 40 different platforms, for the debugger portion, it's only these 4 databases that do support the debugger. So a couple of other features within Aqua Data Studio that can help you with your SQL is we have the SQL history and we have a SQL log. So if you want to enable the SQL history, if you come up here to help and go to query and come down to SQL history, if you click on that, this will give you a listing of the SQL that you've been running. You can have the history here default by 20, but you can adjust that. Same with the maximum statements and auto archiving. Nice thing about the SQL history is if you're working with a particular piece of SQL code that you are wanting to tweak and you make changes to it, you don't have to keep rewriting that SQL code. You can come in here, you can open up the SQL that you're working with, launch it into a SQL editor window, run it again, make your change, come back, launch it. So you're not having to rewrite it every single time. So it'll help you to speed up, trying to optimize that code by, again, letting Aqua Data Studio write that code for you. You make your change, execute it. If it's still not where you need it, you can just relaunch that with that change, make another change, execute it. And then once you have it finalized, you can also save that SQL code as well. Also, there is a SQL log. So if you come to help, SQL log, click on it, this will open up a log of all the SQL that you've been running. So right now, since I just opened it, there's nothing in there. So we'll just go ahead and execute SQL for you again, just to demonstrate. So we have our grid results, and then we can bring up the SQL log, and now we have the information for the SQL that's being run. The SQL log is great for an audit trail, so you can see who's running what in your databases, and you can see what statements are being run, what the duration of it is, who ran it. So it'll help you to be able to track down any choke points. So if somebody's running SQL that's just hosing your database, you can open up the SQL log. You can see who is logged in, what SQL they ran, how long it took. So it can help you to identify, again, those choke points that may be slowing down your database and the returns to it. And then it allows you to be able to go ahead and then just target that SQL, be able to then start working on optimizing it again within your organization. So you can also view this in an Excel spreadsheet. You can save it as well as a text file. But if you open it up in an Excel sheet, then that gives you the ability to take it offline and kind of go through it, especially since for me, I only have demo stuff. There's very little, but for most people within your organization, there's going to be a lot of information in this table. Okay. So a couple other things to touch on real quick, and then we'll jump into any potential questions that we have. So there are a couple of resources within Aqua Data Studio that can help you if you're running into issues or questions. So if you go to Help and go to Online Documentation, click that. It will take you to the Aqua clusters where I showed you the debugger information. And then you can just come up here to the search. You can do a search, for example, with debugger. And then this will bring you to the page that has all of the different information on the debugger, the DB2 debugger, Oracle debugger, whatever information you may be looking for. Let's say that you're more interested in something with regards to, let's see here, you're interested in Postgres. You can do a search. This will bring up all the articles in Postgres. So there's a lot of information that's available to your fingertips here. If you think it may be a bug, I mean, there's the issue tab, a lot of information within the Aqua clusters that you can search. A couple other things within the tool that are really useful is if you go to the aquafold.com webpage, you can click on the Aqua Data Studio here, and that will bring up a page of a lot of information. As I mentioned, there's a lot of different components within the tool. A lot of people use just pieces of it without really realizing what all capabilities are available to them. So this is a great resource there as well. So we're focusing on SQL code. If you want to learn more, you can click here on the SQL code. You can then read this information about the different, setting up pivot grids, auto completion. There are subcategories that you can research, explain plans again. There are videos to watch. So a lot of information at your fingertips to help understand better what the tool is doing or what the tool can do for you. Another thing within the tool itself is there are a lot of features within the tool, a lot of options. that you can customize to make the tool how you like it. For example, dark theme. One of the things, if you come up to File here and go down to Options. Now here, as I mentioned, there are a ton of options within the tool that you can look through. But if you're trying to look for something in particular, like for example, dark theme, you can just come up to the search bar, type in dark. It'll take you to the appearance tab. You can see here dark theme. You know, it's a very useful resource as well. Interested about the query builder or results, grid results, you know, you can see here, you can alternate the color foregrounds of the data results. For the SQL editor, you can come in here, you can make changes to the way the information is displayed, the way your code is displayed. A lot of capability in the options. Right, so let me go ahead and right, so that's pretty much a quick overview of different pieces of the tool that can help you to improve your SQL query. Are there any questions? Okay, let's see here. So one of the questions that came up was the dark theme. I did demonstrate where to go find that. Another question here is, are all of these features within the tool different add-on pricing? So no, all of the components that I touched on are part of the regular price. There are two pricing models for Aqua Data Studio. One is the standard edition and one is the ultimate edition. The ultimate key gives you random table generation and one of the AquaScript features. All right, so I am scrolling through there. There are quite a number of questions. So yeah, okay, I'm just kind of scrolling through. SQL log, does it show all the activity against the database? So let's go back to that real quick. So the SQL log will show you the statement particular, if there are any exceptions. Now, there are database administrative tools that can help you see other components of activity against the database. So if you go into the DBA tools, for example, let's SQL Server, you can see the SQL Server agents. You can see the session manager, SQL Server. Okay. So here, for example, you can see the session stats. You can see any locks that have occurred. So a lot of more information is available for what is happening at the database in the DBA tools menu. You can look at your instances. waiting for it to load. So here, for example, you can see your summaries, different parameters. So a lot of information available for you as to what's going on at the database level in the database tools menu features. So question is, does Query Builder always script the most resource efficient query? My understanding is yes. So it's going to write it as efficiently as it understands. Now, again, there are some options, like I showed, for you to be able to make changes, but essentially it is going to create it as efficiently as possible. So another question is, in the query builder, if we have over 100 tables in the database, can we limit to, say, 5 tables only? So let's see here, the query builder. So in the query builder, you're picking and choosing which tables that you want to drop into. So for example, here, are you asking if you can limit the number of tables in the listing here that you choose from? That I'm not 100% sure on. That'll have to double check. But you can do a search for particular tables. So if you are working with a large number of tables in a database and you're looking for specific ones, you can just do a quick search for it here, and that way you're not trying to scroll through all those different tables. So is Windows authentication coming? That I'll have to double check with the product management, see what's coming on the roadmap. I know that a lot of different Windows authentication and also single sign-on functionality is stuff they're looking at, but I'm not 100% sure on when and any timetable it's going to be. Okay, so there's a question about in the past, when you open Aqua Data Studio, the query analyzer displays what you've already written, but then after a Mac upgrade to Ventura, that's lost that feature. So just so everybody's aware, if you are on a Mac version of Aqua Data Studio, Ventura is still a beta version from Apple. So we are currently waiting for them to finalize the Ventura build into a GA version, and then we'll be able to do quality control against that. We can't, unfortunately, support Ventura right now just because it being a beta, they keep making changes. I think they're on 13.3 already. So they keep making changes to it. We can't fix something and then have them change it, and then we have to spend a cycle fixing it again. So we're waiting for them to go GA finally with Ventura, and then we'll be able to do our quality control against it. And so hopefully that once that happens, you'll be able to get that functionality back. Let's see. So can you show how you did debug mode? So debug, it is in right-click menu. So if you go to a table and you right-click, you're not going to get that capability. If you go to a stored procedure and right-click, you'll see here now it opens up a debug in procedure or procedure debugger. If you go to, let's say, a package as well, you'll get that debug in package debugger, so that you have that capability. But you have to be in either a package or procedure in order to right click and get that debug menu capability. And again, it's only Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, and Sybase. So question about next release date. They are in the process of starting a QA cycle for the next release. We don't have a finalized date, but it should be, I think, at the beginning of Q2. But again, depending on what happens in the QA cycle, that may change. So can you debug in the query window? So when you open up the debugger, so for example here, debug in the package, it will open up a new tab in the query analyzer. Now you can't just open it up from the actual tab. Let's see. So too many tabs open now. So you, again, right click menu is going to be your friend here. Okay, I'm working off of a small window, so it's hard for me to tell if I got everybody's questions answered. What I will do is I will sort through the different answers once the webinar has closed. They'll send them all to me, and then I will go ahead. If there's anything I didn't answer on the session, I apologize. I will get an answer for you and email it to you directly. If you do have any additional questions, I can be reached at darren.fulmer@idera.com. Just go ahead and email the question to me. I'll be more than happy to send you an answer real quick. If I need to do any kind of research, I'll do that as well, but I will definitely get an answer to you. Again, I want to go ahead and thank everybody for attending today. Great bunch of questions, and I appreciate your time and joining us today. I hope that everybody was able to take something away from today's webinar. And again, like I said, if you have any additional questions, you can reach out to your sales rep if you're working with a rep, or email me directly at darren.fulmer@idera.com, and I'll get an answer for you. If you put a question in the box, I will go ahead and if I didn't answer it on the call here today, I will definitely get it out to you. So much appreciate everybody's time. Thank you again. And again, if you are interested in learning a little bit more on some of the other different features of the tool, I encourage you to join one of our getting started webinars so that you get an overview of all the different components within the tool that can help you. So thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you all have a great day.